Good morning, everybody. I think I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I think we're recording, are we not, Danette? Danette, can you hear me?
Yes, we're recording.
Very good. I will call the meeting of the Sheriff's Office Advisory and Review Board to order and ask Danette to call the roll.
Tommy Jewell.
Present.
Debbie Strong, I believe, is going to be joining late. Debbie Dodge.
Present.
Elena Giacci.
Present.
Diane Layden.
I think she's answering present, but she's muted. She's raising her hand. If we could get a verbal for the record, Dr. Layden.
Present.
Thank you.
Joseph Lopez.
Present.
James Stewart.
I'm here, ma'am.
And Michael Wismer will not be attending.
So let the record reflect that I did receive communication both from Michael Wismer, who indicated an inability to be at today's meeting, therefore should show as excused. And as Danette indicated, we received a communication from Vice Chair Debbie Strongin indicating that she would probably be late due to internet access. The chair will then note that we have a quorum and we'll proceed with business. Item 3 is the consent agenda. On that is approval of the May 13 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
I saw 2 hands there. Debbie Dodge moves. Dr. Layden, would you kindly second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Hearing none, those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The meeting minutes for May 13 are then approved, and we will proceed then to item 4, introduction of our new board member, Elena Giacci, and welcome, Ms. Giacci. We are so pleased to have you on. We know that you have participated as a community member previously. We know you have extensive background in this area, and we therefore welcome your participation as a board member and yield for you to make comment with respect to your appointment and perhaps covering your desires as a new board member. The chair yields the floor to you.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored, and like you said, I wanted to just kind of get the lay of the land of what was going on with this board, and was quite impressed with all of the board members, and the conversations plus the report that everyone had participated in was quite impressive. And so I felt very honored to be nominated, and part of it was just trying to figure out what, since Debbie was in the same district we were sharing, but there became an at-large position open, and so I was very pleased. And yes, Judge Jewell is how I know Tommy Jewell, from having background with both working with youth, working with gang youth, working on the task force of the mayors and the different mayors, Mayor Chavez and Mayor Berry, so both Democrat and Republican. And we were able to find a way to be able to communicate and honor each other in whatever political venue. We still just wanted our community safe. And I think that's what this board kind of emits, is what we want to do is we want to do the right thing, safe in our community, and also make people accountable in a way that can be honorable and yet still question the way things are in our community and how to make them better. And so that's why I wanted to be a part of it. That's why I listened ahead of time. That's why I read the report, did my homework, because I feel this is a group that is going to go, did you do your homework, Elena, before you got here? And I felt that I needed to do that to be a responsible board member. So thank you very much. I really appreciate being part of this. So I look forward to it. And Debbie's already got me signed up for different things. So it was like, oh, so, I'm not old enough on the board to go, no. So thank you, everyone.
Well, we again welcome you and are thankful that you feel the pressure both to prepare and to participate. So thank you, Debbie, and I assume that's Debbie Dodge you're talking about. She kind of lights up every time you talk, or is it Debbie Strongin? Which Debbie is it you're identifying?
Strongin.
Oh, okay,
Strongin.
Debbie Strongin. Oh, okay. Well,
I
she's
just light up.
okay. Well, she's not on yet to defend herself, so if you want to give her some assignments, now would be an appropriate time. Dr. Layden also brought to my attention via email that we may not have heard from our other two newest board members, Misters Lopez and Stewart, to the extent that they might want to be heard. So I want to offer them the opportunity. Obviously, we've gotten both of them working, and we appreciate that. I think I did offer the opportunity last meeting for you all to make comments. So if there are other relative to your appointment on this board, certainly we'll hear you. Mr. Lopez, anything further you wanted to say at this time?
Yes, Chairman. Jewell, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity and the assistance and reaching out via email from all the other board members regarding the board and the ins and outs of it. I appreciate that. I don't know how the email found its way to me for this board position, but I retired from the Albuquerque Fire Department in December, and I was firefighter for about 11 years. And I was working in the fire investigations division for about 10 years. And so I kind of get a strong sense with my public safety, both from police and fire. So I saw the email for the opening in District 2, and I really thought about it for about a month. I prayed about it. I talked to Judge Jewell, and I was intrigued by the whole transparency aspect of the BCSO, not only questions from the public or issues that the public bring to us, but also, educating the public as to why BCSO might do certain things. So improvement on communication for flowing to the community and also up to the sheriff's office was kind of one of the reasons why I really wanted to get involved. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity, excited, and thank you all for your patience on my learning curve.
Well, again, thank you for your participation, and you've kind of hit the ground running. I've learned, and so we appreciate that. Mr. Stewart, anything that you wanted to offer at this time?
Yeah, if you don't mind, and I know we're formal here, but it's okay to call me Jim.
Very good. You can call me Tommy.
Good, Judge. My background for the last almost 9 years is a chief deputy sheriff in Texas. Now in Texas, we don't typically use the term undersheriff, but it's kind of the equivalent to the undersheriff term that's used here in Bernalillo County. And the agency for which I was the chief deputy, we had 300 employees, and amongst our responsibilities included a 1,100 bed jail. So in Texas, the sheriffs typically also run the jail on behalf of the county. I've retired. I've moved from Texas to Albuquerque and looking for things to keep me out of trouble. And I saw the article in the journal about the SOARB. And I thought it might be an opportunity for me to get more involved with the Bernalillo County folks and to offer the benefit of my expertise in law enforcement.
particularly at the sheriff's office level. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to advocate on behalf of the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office with you, but vice versa, also be able to convey the concerns of the board and the community back to the sheriff's office. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity. I'm hopeful for some sort of an orientation where you could gather us new kids together and kind of tell us what's okay and what's not okay. I have reached out via email to Under Sheriff Corrin, and we've communicated a bit with regards to policy development for the sheriff's office. And I hope to be able to continue to pursue that on behalf of the board. So, Judge, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to serving with all of you. Thank you.
Jim, thank you very much, and we certainly appreciate your participation. Certainly we want to make sure that we use your expertise to the fullest extent that we might. In a lot of respects, we're treading on new ground, and so we have not developed any formal orientation. Indeed, we haven't had the chance to meet each other in person, let alone have any formalized orientation. So, we welcome your input as we attempt to develop tools for this board that might be used in the future. So if you want to take on the task of formalizing some orientation, that would be welcomed. Notwithstanding that, you're certainly not obligated to do that, but any comments you have as we move forward are certainly welcomed. I will then, if there are no other board members that need address the SOARB at this time, move on to item 4 on the agenda, item 5 on the agenda, Sheriff's Office comment. And we'll call on Under Sheriff Larry Corrin for remarks. Under Sheriff Corrin, are there any remarks that you have at this time? And he's muted, I see. Danette, have we elevated him to panelist so that he might speak? I see a thumbs up from Danette indicating Under Sheriff Corrin, if you have comments, they're welcome at this time. Okay, I'm still not hearing anything nor seeing that he has unmuted. So if during the course of this he does unmute, we'll circle back to that item on the agenda, but we'll move business forward. Item 6 is the grist of why we meet here to gather public comment. Danette, has anyone signed up to speak, or are there members of the public present who might desire to speak?
I didn't have anybody formally sign up, but I do see Jasmine Perry, Jimmy Cole, and that's about all. I also see Debbie Strung has come in. I have tried to promote it to panelist, but let's see this, it worked.
Okay, well, let me just acknowledge that the vice chair is now present, and our numbers have then moved from 6 to 7. Welcome, Vice Chair Strong, and I'm glad you resolved any internet issues that were hampering your participation this morning. And those members of the public that are present, certainly we invite you to speak. If you have comment, please raise your hand, and Danette can allow your comment. And I think we have something from Jasmine there.
Jasmine says she's here to just listen.
Okay, very good. Again, welcome, Jasmine. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who have comment? And you all forgive me, I'm still feeling my way through this. So I'm looking at the chat to see if others have said something there, and I'm not seeing anything. Do you see anything, Danette?
No, I don't at this time.
Okay. So again, we'll proceed with our agenda. And if during the course of our meeting, there is the necessity for members of the public or the undersheriff or others on behalf of BCSO to make comment, we'll certainly attempt to make room for those comments. Item 7 on our agenda is termed old business. A of that section is review if any updates are needed on current board's code of conduct and the role of chair at the meeting. While I show Mr. Wismer as presenting in that item, we know that he is not here. We know that he wanted this conversation to either go forward, or any comments that he had that were garnered as a result of his effort to be shared or gotten to him. I know that Vice Chair Strongin had a couple of amendments. And so I see she's saying something there. Danette, is she unable to speak?
It doesn't allow me to promote her to panelist, so let me see if it allows her to talk.
Hi, this is Debbie. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Debbie.
Okay, well, I can see all of you. So I'm sorry and all that, trying to figure out what was going on. I'm not sure what we're up to. Sorry.
Debbie, pardon me for being informal. Jim got me
Sure.
going on this.
Good.
I
All for
know
it.
that we're on item 7, review of the code of conduct submitted by Mr. Wismer. And I know that you had made, I think, 3 changes. And I don't know if you want to speak to them at this point, or just get them into Mike Wismer.
Yeah, I think Mike may have already incorporated some or all of my suggested changes. So it was really if anyone else had anything.
And I don't know to what extent others have had an opportunity to review that. It's been with us now for a couple of meetings. And the thought was making sure that we were tight on our code of conduct, in particular regarding the election that is now past primary and is pending for general. And so any of you who have thoughts, please review that document and share those thoughts with Mr. Wismer. I see your hand, Jim. Please go ahead if you have comment at this time.
Judge, if you want me to go direct, I'll do that. There was just the bullet number 7 about political activities. I'm pretty sure I understand the intent of that. I just think the grammatical structure could be a little bit different to make it more clear. But I'll send that directly to the author.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time? And we can now see you, Debbie Strongin. Anyone else with comment?
As I looked at the document, I wasn't sure what were the changes and what was the old. It's just so that I could see what the comparison was, like what had been changed. I saw the document as, pretty concise and good, but I didn't know what were being changed and for what reason, or just even what was being changed. So I didn't see that document. So I was just wondering, maybe when he gets back, we can talk about what changed or why we saw the need for change. I think I just saw the whole document as like if it was a new document or if there were changes. That was my only question.
Okay, thank you. And I see your hand, Vice Chair Strongin, and I know that you had color coded your suggestions. I saw that, but Debbie Strongin, anything else?
I just wanted to suggest that everybody just look at it anew, since so many of us weren't, or so many new members didn't have any input into it. Just look at all of it as a brand new document and give any suggestions that you have. I think would be the best way to approach it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And again, as I commented to you, Jim, on a lot of this, we're treading on new ground. I don't know that many of us have lived with the level of political restriction that this might impose, but obviously we have an obligation to make sure that we're not doing anything improper with respect to an election. And we took on the task, and hopefully under some of our agenda, we'll debrief on that. We took on the task of in essence, having a candidate's forum, which was very, very tricky for us. And so we did so with the help of legal, and I see Attorney Daniel Roberson is on, and we did so with the help of pre-meeting publicity arranged by Floyd Vasquez, who is also on. You know, with respect to that and the code of conduct, we want to make sure that we have their input on that as well, because again, we want to fashion something, if we are not on this board in the future, that will be of assistance as we look past 2022 for an election and envision a role for the SOARB in 2026 and beyond. We want to make sure that we've made a proper path. So that just kind of speaks in aid of the effort. And I'll, unless there's something else on the code of conduct, we'll go ahead and—
Judge Jewell.
Yes.
Judge Jewell, this is Joseph Lopez. I just had one real quick thing for Elena. I know I was having problems looking at it on my phone, seeing changes. When I was able to open it on my computer, I could see the changes and the original document, and it made a big difference looking at it on the laptop or a desktop. So I like to see things that are obviously the whole document, but I also like to see what's being proposed to be changed. And so you might want to try that. That's all I got, Judge.
Thank you.
Um,
Yes.
I just wanted to ask if Danette could possibly send a copy of that email that went out recently with the code of conduct to Mr. Vasquez, because I think I sent it to everybody else. I sent it to Daniel Roberson and all the members of the board, but I don't think I sent it to Floyd. So if Danette, if you could do that, I would really appreciate it.
Will do.
Thank you.
There's nothing else on that. We'll move to item B, discussion of the sheriff's election and SOARB. And I show Vice Chair Strongin as directing that comment.
Yeah, I don't actually remember what we had anticipated for this item, but I'm wondering what people's reactions are to the mini forum that we held, whether, you know, the 2 minutes seemed adequate, or was it inadequate? Is it something worth doing again, or worth thinking about restructuring in the future? What would, you know, what are everyone's thoughts on it? Anybody? And
Yeah,
I'm addressing this also to Under Sheriff Corrin, because if you had any thoughts about it, you know, we'd like to hear that too.
And I saw Dr. Layden's hand go up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I would continue with the mini forum. As some of you know, the new members may not know, I've been in touch with someone with the League of Women Voters about a forum for the two major candidates before the election. I think these forums are a good idea for the public and for ourselves. So I'm in favor of continuing the mini forum, and then hopefully we'll have a major forum before the election.
Thank you for that, Dr. Layden and Vice Chair Strongin. I think the time is important because actually avoiding the political dynamic, those people were appearing as members of the public, and the 2-minute limitation is what we impose on the public. But it strikes me that that could have gotten very unwieldy had we not had some limitation, and almost did, to tell you the truth. So if we're going to raise that from 2 minutes in that circumstance, it seems to me we probably have to raise the limitation on public comment in our meetings generally. And I think 2 minutes is a good point to have a limitation, as long as the chair has some discretion in extension. So that's my thought on that. You have your hand back up, Vice Chair Strong.
Yes, you know, I agree with your concerns about treating every member of the public equally. But I also think that in the context of what we were hoping for, which was some feel for each of the candidates who chose to speak, the 2 minutes was not really sufficient time. What we could hear in that time was really, fairly superficial in terms of someone wanting to present their views. So I don't know if there is a way, given that there is discretion in the chair, to extend the time, whether, if we have a special event or a special invitation such as that, whether we can extend that time where each candidate would still have to speak, a maximum time, but I think 2 minutes is just too short a time. And that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Elena Giacci.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that I didn't get a real feel of, where they stood and what they did. In the past, I have supported and worked with the League of Women Voters, and they have been amazing because they've walked through this so many times. They have great advice about how long each, like if we decided we want to do 5 questions, how long each one of those questions should be, how it should be moderated, the timekeeper, and how to do that. If we did it in person, if we did it at like the Bernalillo County meeting room and did that in a forum that could be seen by anybody who gets the TV, the community TV, so we could do something like that. But the League of Women Voters, I can't say enough good about them as far as them being kind of a leadership role of how we could conduct things like this. They give invaluable information about how to do it, and they are supportive, and they provide all sorts of amazing information on how to do it properly. And so I would say that because I'm all for having the 2 shares do something that would that we could add questions to, and that I think the community would be interested in, because I don't think I know, as someone who is very interested in the sheriff's race, I don't think I know enough about either one of the candidates right now. And it would be interesting to have the twist of us submitting those, like transparency and some of the other things that have been coming up in these meetings about the clear and all different components about that. I think would be nice to having a limit, but also learning from the League of Women Voters.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Are there others? And Daniel, I'm certainly wanting to hear from you, if nothing else, just to keep in mind the sidelines kind of in this game, and that we're, as we envision doing something similar again, or for some other SOARB, what went well, what kind of had you concerned about where we were going, and how, given the two statements that the time didn't feel sufficient, we might remedy that, yet do what is appropriate.
Yes, Chairman Jewell. And the way it was conducted last time, which with the 2 minutes, and I do agree with Member Strongin that for some candidates, they may not have been enough. The reason the law that the county legal is somewhat wary of these open forums possibly causing a violation of is the Governmental Conduct Act, because the county is paying for the current Zoom account we're using. The administrator is a Bernalillo County employee, and these are tax dollars, and it's the potential for the board. And I know the board is not the board. The board is clearly just trying to educate the public. There can't be the image that the board has made this a political forum. There's a reason we don't have other boards have potential forums for county commissioners or any other elected official. While I do agree that the sheriff is, quite frankly, possibly the most viewed public entity in the county, and that's why it's important, because these deputies impact everyone's day to day. The idea of using the League of Women's Voters Forum and potentially using this forum to endorse them, that is a safer mechanism, safer way to do it. If you did want to continue with this way, it would I would advise the potential of raising the public speaking minutes for everyone, and that's how you do it, for everyone in the public. And that can be a double-edged sword. If this board changed it to a 5-minute public forum, you could potentially end up in the future where we're not dealing with an election and you have 50 people signed up and each gets a 15-minute or a 5-minute speaking position. And I mean, the meetings can go very long. And that's one of the things I would just ask you guys to think about and just caution you about. But I think the League of Women Voters is probably your best bet to be the safest from a legal standpoint and not to possibly violate the Governmental Conduct Act.
Well, thank you, Daniel. Anybody else? It also occurs to me, Daniel, with Under Sheriff Corn, and he's on but not speaking, but it just seems to me we certainly want to encourage people moving through the ranks and aspiring the top job, but that presented just a very tricky situation for us and for him, and I don't know if there are things that we need to iron out there moving forward, but certainly if you have any comment there, let me know.
I believe the board handled it appropriately in that instance. The board is just trying to be as fair as they can and just giving everyone an opportunity to speak. Unfortunately, because of current county charter and county policy, he was in a conflict, and in that situation, he was kind of tied from all ends from properly doing it and not possibly putting everyone in a liability. I think there should be some higher level talks. I'll talk with Ken about possibly changing county policy. There are workarounds currently, but he was in a position where that wasn't possible. So, but I think a discussion with the county about potentially changing that without having an image of impropriety or favoritism for a political candidate, it needs to be reevaluated, because that was written a long time ago.
Okay, and Vice Chair Strongin, you have a hand up?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Roberson, I wanted to just see what your feeling would be if we were to allow all members of the public to speak either in person or via a video if they chose not to speak live, but to present a video. And if everyone were given that opportunity, in addition to, sending a letter or an email, whatever, would that also have solved some of Under Sheriff Corn's dilemma? Would that have been permissible?
In that instance, it would have been. I think the issue we ran into last time was that when the public statement went out, the option wasn't given to everyone to do either in person or a video. And I know that there were a few candidates that didn't apply or didn't come to participate. And we don't know if, from a county's perspective, if they were aware that this was an opportunity, and as to whether they would have attributed to some kind of lawsuit or some kind of complaint against this board. And that was what I was really trying to prevent at that time.
Thank you.
Ms. Giacci.
Yeah, could maybe this be something that a few of us could explore with Diane around with the cooperation of the League of Women Voters, and then come back with a proposal next month, so then we could have it more formed and say, okay, maybe this is how we could do it. And then the question component, we could have them do written questions. And if people wanted to, it could be available wherever we can have it available. But maybe just put something all together to propose for July. And then, Daniel, you would have an opportunity to say, yay, no, what were you thinking? And that way have some more information, and we could figure out when that meeting could be. However many of us wanted to participate, I would be happy to participate, and I'm sure Deb would too, right? Deb Strongin.
Of course. And I
course.
see Dr. Layden also raising
Yeah.
her hand on that. so.
And I thought that we had in advance of this kind of put something together that both Debbie Strongin and Dr. Layden were part of. If not, the suggestion,
Definitely.
the suggestion is well taken. And it seems to me if you all, and certainly Elena Giacci, consider yourself a part of that.
Great.
And we would welcome you all coming back in July with your suggestions, perhaps filtered by Mr. Roberson's review, and perhaps a path forward. And so, if that has not been put together previously, consider that it is now formalized. Dr. Layden, I think previously I asked you to take the.
That'd be great.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
And it would be great to have either Jim or Joseph part of it too, just because of your backgrounds, just to get that feedback would be. So, feel free to volunteer. I know it's my first time here, but.
My question is just if once we have a subcommittee of 4, does that, now that we have 8 people on the committee, does that create a problem from the open meetings perspective? And that's addressed to Daniel.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to do the number count as to how many members there are now. We just don't want to meet a quorum. And Ms. Strongin is very aware that there's the potential for a rolling quorum. And that's when you have members just by email answering, and the public doesn't have an opportunity to witness it. 1, 2, 3. And is it Danette? Do you know what the official count is by any chance?
Not off the top of my head.
I think it's 8.
Say,
I believe that's correct. By the letterhead that I have, we have 1 vacancy in District 1, but otherwise we are full. And so it seems with 8 that 5 would be a majority or a quorum.
Right.
So right now, I believe as a subcommittee, we have 3. Elena is asking fellow newbies, Jim, Stewart, and Lopez, and let's just consider them informal. And the 3 of you remain on the committee, and if you all would get input, Misters Lopez and Stewart into that committee, or if they may borrow on your expertise, that would be sufficient. If you feel it important to be formally a part of that, I don't have a problem if one of the 2 of you is formally a part. We haven't reached quorum, and that would be fine. But otherwise, the 3 can be that subcommittee, and you all can have input in as I plan to. Is that sufficient, Daniel? Okay.
Yes.
Good. Very good. Anything else on that? Because it appears to be the perfect jumping off point for the next discussion item, which is the annual report. It's listed as Jewell Strongin. I asked Danette to put this back on, and it is appropriately placed because I think our experience with this candidates form needs to go into the annual report. And I'm not sure what kind of analysis is needed, but future boards certainly need to be in a position to grapple with this issue every 4 years. I come from the judiciary, and when we went to, I guess what they call a merit selection, or judges running against their records, midterm, we would receive a review by the Judicial Evaluation Commission, and they would kind of, and so coming into this experience, we know we were at approximately midterm, and there was a lot of turmoil because the citizens really couldn't have voice. And the answer on one side was, well, the sheriff answers only to the electorate. And the other side was the county commission that said, yeah, but we have some responsibility for what occurs in the sheriff's office. Thus, you had the creation of this board. So I want to be mindful of that. And I don't want to be too heavy in just gearing up for election years and saying, hey, you know, the public doesn't get enough information about the sheriff's office during an election. The public doesn't get enough information and have enough opportunity for input. Otherwise, I think is an observation that we might make as a member of the SOARB. And so I want to be mindful of that and look at opportunities for you know, public input and advice off election years as well. So with that, Ms. Strongin, can we make sure that we somehow reflect in the annual report, one, this effort to have a candidates forum, two, some of the review of that process, but three, how that might transfer to something that's not just geared at election, but also of value in how the public can evaluate the sheriff's office off election year.
Absolutely. And I can add that to the next draft, which I will distribute before the next meeting. So Danette, maybe we can put discussion of the annual report onto the agenda for the next meeting.
We'll do so.
Thank you. And just so our new members are clear, we are required under the ordinance that created SOARB to submit to the county commission every January. So even though it seems like we have a lot of time, there's always a crunch at the end. And when I say always, I'm referring to last year because that was our first report.
Oh, I think this is under Sheriff Korn in the chat. I see one from him who, and maybe he can speak. Can you be heard, Under Sheriff?
Yeah, I'm on, and I do apologize as the meeting was about to gear up. I had an interview with KOB that I had to tend to. Sorry about that, but I am here now. I did catch the tail end. It sounds like you guys have basically made a kind of a plan, move forward with how you're going to deal with issues of people who are running for office, and that may have been in my situation, and that's good. I appreciate what you guys are doing. And if there's anything I can help with, let me know.
Well, we are sorry that you had to be the guinea pig of us trying new things, and we are. I think you took it in good stead, and we appreciate that, and would certainly benefit whether through this subcommittee or otherwise, by your comment and review of what we tried to do. So please feel welcome to do that. And you mentioned that.
If I could just add one thing, because it was mentioned about your annual report going in, and I think that's great. I think that's good that you guys do an annual report. I thought the annual report was well thought out, well done. And I think one of my observations, at least moving forward here, and perhaps so maybe a recommendation, take it out however you wish, is that you have more frequent reporting periods to the commission. I guess that'll be dictated by what information you have, but one of the struggles that any administration is going to have moving forward is making sure, if you're going to be that conduit between the public and the commission and the public and the sheriff, is that there maybe be more of a need for more frequent reporting by the board, if that's possible, because there are a lot of initiatives that we've implemented, or we try to initiate within the sheriff's office that frankly don't see a lot of follow through within the county side as well, budgeting items and planning and infrastructure and things of that nature. So I think that was looking back at that year and the struggles ahead, is I didn't see it as advisory to the commission necessarily. But I'm just pointing that out, just a recommendation. You take it at as you wish.
Well, thank you for that recommendation, Vice Chair Strongin.
Yeah, I think that's a really good recommendation. I think what we've tried to do, and maybe need to be more mindful of, is, as issues come up, we try to report it to the sheriff's office way before, with some immediacy to when the issue is raised. Not so much with the county commission, but maybe we should be sort of on an ongoing basis, just giving updates. I know that my county commissioner asked me just for an informal summary of any main issues that came up during meetings, and I would just do that with a text message. But maybe we should do something a little more formal to keep everybody up to date in a timely fashion.
And I see Debbie Dodge.
Well, it is rather disappointing that our commissioners don't seem to have much interest in tuning in on any of these meetings. And maybe that would be a request we could make of the commission, is that at least one of them attend this meeting once a month also, because they don't seem to be in tune with us at all.
Let me say this, and I don't really need to defend the county commission. It does, what it votes to do, but there have been commissioners at our meetings. All of our meetings have been Zoom, and unfortunately we can't see all the people that are present. Sometimes commissioners have chosen to participate verbally. More often though, they have just been monitoring meetings. So I don't want you to think that they just created this and said, we don't have time for it, and we're not going to follow it. But your point is well taken. Maybe there needs to be something more formal. Let me hear from Vice Chair Strongin first, and then I'll get back to you, Board Member Dodge.
I mean, I certainly can understand feeling, the way Debbie Dodge has expressed about the county commission's interest. On the other hand, I know that early on, when we were sort of struggling as a board to figure out what's our mission and where are we headed, and we had tried to get the county commission or some of them to attend our meeting. And I remember that raised a huge host of issues that were problematic under the public meetings law. And so I think maybe Daniel can speak to that more specifically, but I remember that came up and it was an issue. And I also can say that when the report was submitted to the board, it was pretty clear that they had read it and read it carefully. So, you know, but I don't know what the restrictions are on county commissioners actually attending and participating in our meetings.
Daniel, can you elucidate on that before Debbie Dodge speaks? Well, Daniel may not be available or in the hearing. Debbie Dodge, did you want to say something else?
Well, I was just wondering if it's a possibility. I mean, on our minutes and everything, we always show the board members that are present, but we never show that Under Sheriff Corn, you know, as attendance, maybe is actually listening in on the meeting, and maybe we have a public and an attendance list or something like that to show that there are other people at this meeting than just the board members.
As I look at my participant list right now, there are 14 people. We know that we only have 8 board members, seven present, and we have Under Sheriff Corn, we have Danette, Daniel, and Floyd. So what's that? 10. So we have 4 members of the public, I believe, and so I don't know if they would desire that their names appear in minutes, but that may be appropriate or it may not be. If we were in person and they came in to listen, I'm not sure that would be reflected in minutes.
Right.
But I appreciate that concern. So we can look at doing that. Certainly members of the public, as you're here, if you have concern about that, we would want to hear from you. Ms. Giacci, you had something else?
I was just saying, we could always go down to the monthly meetings and report, and give them a report like every quarter or whenever we feel like it, or, you know, whenever we would want to go and give them a report. And that way they couldn't make the idea of, well, we didn't know what was going on. So if we wanted to go down and just be on the list to speak, I think we could do that as well if we wanted to.
Understood. You know, the other part of that, I guess I was thinking, I wonder if they want that. Certainly when they penned this legislation and passed it, they envisioned an annual report. And so I don't want to walk before we've struggled with crawling enough, but we've given them an annual report. That I don't remember, and Debbie Strongin, you might help me, them saying, well, we want more. We want you to brief us. We want you to brief us every month. And then I want to say I appreciate Under Sheriff Corn's observation. I'm assuming that the sheriff has other mechanisms to advocate on budgetary matters and otherwise, and that while we might be in aid of that, that is not our primary mission to go and advocate with the county commission for the sheriff. But you know, that from time to time may be appropriate as well. I can see you now, Daniel. Can you hear me? Okay. The matter came up about commission participation in our meetings, and Vice Chair Strongin gave voice to the fact that there may be limitations with them participating in our meetings. And that's kind of evolved, one, into reflecting in our minutes precisely who is at our meetings, whether public or other commissioners, but also us going to county commission meetings and making more frequent reports than just our annual report. So I don't know if you have currently any thoughts or positions relative to that whole discussion. But please just be mindful that is something that we're considering. One, more frequent reports to the commission. Two, I guess asking them or inviting them to have more participation in our meetings. And then three, reflecting who is at our meetings more globally in our minutes.
There's no prohibition outside of a quorum for a county commissioner to participate in these hearings. If I'm not mistaken, prior to the election of now Chair Barboa of the County Commission, Commissioner Colley did show up to a few of these in the beginning,
Yeah, he did.
if I'm not mistaken. So there's no prohibition for one or two county commissioners to show up. There's no prohibition for members of the board to write additional reports to the county commission and to show up to the county commission that I know of at this time.
Okay. Any problem with us reflecting members of the public in meeting minutes?
No.
Okay. It seemed to me, okay, there you are, Vice Chair Strongin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I believe that one of the attendees of this meeting is former Commissioner Colley, who was one of the moving forces behind creating this board. And if he can hear us and if he cares to, he might want to address whether he would have thought it advisable to have more frequent reports or at least more frequent with this committee.
Well, I see him there, and Danette, will you make sure it's possible for him to speak? Ask Commissioner Colley, how nice of you to join us. Thank you.
Judge Jewell, I had no idea I was going to get involved in this meeting.
Anytime we can involve you, we're honored, please.
Oh, gosh. Well, you're very nice. Just briefly, it seems to me that the line the advisory board should be careful of at every moment is you don't want either the county or the sheriff's office to believe that you are the sole conduit. Hold on just a minute. Oh. I apologize. We're trying to clean the house.
Good luck.
Yeah, you don't want the sheriff's office to think that it has to communicate with the county through the advisory board, nor do you want the county to believe that it can only communicate with the sheriff's office through the advisory board. I would steer real clear of being the carrier of communications. You may well see something that got missed and call people's attention to it, but I think Under Sheriff Corn was kind of looking for assistance with advocacy of some issues I'm unaware of with the sheriff's office and the county, and I would urge you not to get in the communication place between the two.
Well put. Thank you for that input. Anybody else on this subject? All right. Well, let me just say, the board can certainly take under advisement, and if anybody feels it necessary to do something more formal, it can be proposed, and we can take that up in particular. We appreciate, I guess, Vice Chair Strongin went into the participant list and saw Reverend Colley's name there, and certainly there may be others. My focus, unfortunately, is on what I see, and I know that I don't see everybody. So we appreciate all that appear, and certainly members of the public are offered the opportunity to speak, as is the undersheriff. So thank you all, and we'll move on in our agenda to new business unless there's something further there. And the first item of new business is for Dr. Layden. She brought to our attention that there was an article in the journal which spoke to editing of video footage in the press with respect to the sheriff's processes in the field. And so Dr. Layden, is there something you want to share with us on that?
Thank you. You've received the journal article. It appeared on April 19th. In the second half of the article, there is a paragraph that begins with the words, "A deputy pulled out a gun and crap." It's about a standoff in the South Valley between BCSO and an alleged perpetrator. A deputy pulled out a gun and Crab rammed the other deputy's vehicle before driving away. Crab is the alleged perpetrator. And then the agency did not release full video of the incident, as is custom for other agencies, but edited segments showing various interactions with Crab. And the next sentence is, Huffmeyer said this was done so as not to reveal tactics used to immobilize Crab's car. Well, this was the first time I saw it in print, that the videos that the sheriff's deputies take are edited before they're shared with the public. And the reporter, Matthew Risen, who is one of the major reporters who covers crime for the Journal. If you read the crime articles, you'll see he's the reporter often, so is Elise Kaplan, and there may be some others who fill in at times. But Risen says in his article that it's the custom of other agencies to release full video. So I wanted to know about this practice. That's the first issue. And the second is I wanted some assurance that the full video is preserved, even if it's edited, if in part to go to the public. That may be more common than the reporter knows, I don't know. But we want to make sure that the full video is retained. Undoubtedly, there may be lawsuits following these incidents. So that's my concern. Now, Joseph Lopez and I have been in touch. He's also interested. So I believe he contacted Under Sheriff Corrin. Board Member Lopez.
Thank you, Diane. I did send Under Sheriff Corrin a couple emails regarding some questions that I think would help me and Diane address this issue. I haven't had any replies back from Under Sheriff. I know he was probably pretty busy with the campaigning and stuff. So I think I'd like to see if I can reach out to Under Sheriff again and try and get some more input on what BCSO's practices are. I know that from working with fire investigations and with APD, the original video on APD side was always kept original on a cloud. And anything that was released, whether it was to lawyers, public, IPRA requests, they didn't call it editing, they called it redacting for whatever various purposes that they needed to redact. That was done on a copied version, and so the original was never changed or deleted. So I don't know if, I don't want to speak for BCSO or what's going on over there yet, but I know that APD, as far as their video goes and original copies, I think they had best practices, and I'd like to see what practices and procedures that the Sheriff's Office employs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Layden. I see that Under Sheriff Corrin has a hand up. Did you have a helpful comment in this area, Under Sheriff Corrin?
I would hope it's helpful. I mean, I did reply to an email. I'm not sure if it went through, but I know I replied to Joseph's request for some information. I did send him a direct link to access our Power D.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
We heard recording in progress. I don't know if that is an indication that we lost Danette entirely.
It does appear to that she's not on showing.
Okay. Well, the recording then will have to will have to suffice for her to fashion minutes from. I don't think we have a whole lot more to go into here, but we're kind of running out of time, so I don't want to delay the meeting waiting for Danette to get back on. We have under new business two other items: review of the SOPs and progress in that area by Vice Chair Strongin, and then we have from Mr. Stewart a question on formal orientation. We've kind of talked about that a bit. Let me take the latter first. Mr. Stewart, is there anything that you want to propose with respect to formal orientation for the board?
No, what I had in mind was, what are we supposed to do? I've read the legislation setting up the SOARB based on y'all's experience being the the initial composition of the board and what y'all saw as your duties. I just wanted a clear understanding of what it was you expected us to do, or what we were, not you, but what we are expected to do. And the second part of that I presented was, have we ever been afforded the opportunity for a sheriff's office orientation? I suspect that they have such a thing, that they present to elected officials that come through there, dignitaries that come through there. And I, for one, would like to see that, see how they're organized, see what their command structure is like, what their responsibilities are. Early on, when I was accepted as a member of the board, I went to their website and I found their policies. So I've been going through the policies, and I presented a query to Under Sheriff Korn about, could I meet with the person that's responsible for the management of the policies? How often are they reviewed? Who reviews them? Who writes them? Those sorts of things, which are all crucial. Currently, I'm in Texas at the Texas Chief Deputies Association board meeting. I'm a member of the board of directors, and we had a presentation this week from a company that manages policies for law enforcement entities. And there's a lot of things in there that are crucial to the effective development of policies, the promulgation of those policies, and making sure that they're legally appropriate, and so on and so forth. So the vice chair had asked me if I would work on policies. I've reached out to the undersheriff several times, and I'd like to meet with him and or his representative with regards to those policies. So that's not really the question you asked me, but if we could, if all I have is what's in the legislation setting us up, well, then that's all we have, and I get that. But I'm not really clear on what my authorities are. Can I call people? Can I call the sheriff and say, hey, sheriff, why are you doing this? Can a member of the board do those sorts of things?
Well, and let me say this, Mr. Stewart, thank you for your inquiry in those areas. I think there are multiple areas that you touched on. We have had a subcommittee that was focused on SOP because of turnover in the board. I think at least we lost two of those members, and I can't remember which of the Debbies was the third member of that. Okay, it's Vice Chair Strongin. So certainly she can bring you up to speed on what has been the discussion and what has been developed around and by this board with respect to SOP. With respect to orientation by the sheriff, they have certainly, and I don't know if we lost Under Sheriff Korn, but they have certainly made available to us their train. They have a, and Debbie Dodge helped me with it. What's it called?
Citizens Academy.
Citizens Academy that I guess stands as a pretty well-structured orientation to the sheriff's office. Debbie Dodge has taken advantage of that. Others of us have said, man, that's a lot, because the structure of it was such that it was a commitment for an extended period of time. So I don't know that we've had offered from the sheriff's office anything that was truncated that they would say is an orientation. We'd certainly welcome consideration of that. And if that's something that you have interest in, you as a person with prior experience could probably be helpful in bridging that for us, because we've even had conversation about them truncating and distilling some of the Citizens Academy training for us so that we could view that individually. Reference, let me see, what was the third thing that you asked about? Well, it escapes me. I think you mentioned something else that I was going to address, and perhaps it'll come back to me, but I saw some other hands. Was there somebody?
Judge,
Yeah.
maybe it was with regards to my question about what are our authorities as board members?
Right.
Do I need
Yes.
to ask you or the vice chair? Hey, can I call? Can I email?
To the extent, certainly to the extent of any other citizen, you have the right to contact the sheriff's office. You may certainly identify yourself as a member of the Sheriff's Office Advisory and Review Board in doing so. You do not have authority to speak on behalf of the SOARB. That is something that by policy we have left to the chair, that can be extended to you from the chair. My practice is to go back to the board and say, this is a situation, Mr. Stewart wishes to speak for the board on this point. And so that you are armed with a vote by the board, that would be my advice, is that you come back and say, look, this is a situation, I'd like the authority to speak for the board, and that can be extended through the chair. So I hope I've given my thoughts on those questions, Ms. Strongin.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think, if you volunteered to be on a particular subcommittee and outreach to the sheriff's office or any other resource is a reasonable aspect of that subcommittee's work, then I don't know that you need to feel particularly constrained. I mean, it's always fine to bring it up. But I think if it's within the mandate of the subcommittee, it's a legitimate inquiry. I also noticed there's somebody from Bernalillo County with a hand up on the screen here, on my screen.
Is that you, Danette?
That is me.
And Dr. Layden, I don't know if you had your hand up, but I use your situation as an example for Mr. Stewart. I don't think it was necessary in particular for her to come back and say, gee, can I contact this reporter? She may certainly do that. What she cannot do is say, well, Mr. Reporter, on behalf of the SOARB, we direct that in every article you say that this has been redacted. She doesn't have the authority, as she reaches out to this reporter, to go further and say what the board has done. She could not do that to the county commission. She could not do that to the sheriff's office, but certainly there is no restriction on her contacting this reporter. Ms. Scott.
And can she say she's a member of the board? Because
certainly she can identify herself as a member of the board. She can say a concern has been raised in meetings that we've had, and I, on behalf of the board, am looking into that concern. I don't think that's problematic. I don't see anybody disagreeing with me on that. That's not a problem. It's when she would propose to speak on behalf of the board with respect to our decisions or our positions that she would overstep. I see several heads shaking. I'm sure that's murky enough that we're going to continue to have conversation on that, but we're feeling it out, and I appreciate your sensitivity to it, Mr. Stewart, and Dr. Layden is just being very cautious. I'm sure she knows that, and I appreciate every move, and I think she expressed this to Mr. Lopez, who was good enough to get back to me on conversations he was having. She says, gee, I always reach out to the chair before I'm gonna put my foot forward or put my foot in my mouth. And she didn't say that, but you all get it. And it's appreciated because we need to have some level of coordination Otherwise, we're just acting on our own. And I have been caught on that initially and vowed to this board that I wouldn't. We had a situation where there appeared to be some dispute between the DA and the sheriff, and the former vice chair took it upon himself to pen a letter on behalf of the board before we had voted on that. And you know, he was dogged enough. He's an attorney who's moved away to Germany. He was dogged enough that he wanted that letter to go out, and I said, oh, okay, and that was my fault. So I will try to keep us true to policy if you will run stuff by me. Sometimes I slip up, but I will make an effort to make sure that we follow our policy. And so anything else then, Vice Chair Strongin, on the review of BCS policy, any update for us there?
I defer to Jim Stewart on that.
Okay, do you know what that means, Mr. Stewart?
I do.
Okay, good deal.
The vice chair and I have talked extensively about policy development, promulgation, and et cetera, and I volunteered to reach out to the sheriff's office. My initial query to the undersheriff was, I got an email back thanking me for my interest, and with a link to the Power DMS, to the policies. Well, I've already looked at all that. And what I wanted to do was to sit down with him and or his designee. And as I said earlier, what is the procedures at the sheriff's office for developing, evaluating, and pushing out policies? I have a pretty good idea how they do it, but I'd like for them to tell me how they do it. And then I could come back to y'all and say, it looks pretty good to me, or there might be some areas where they could tweak this and make it a little bit better. And so I'm just kind of stuck. I've sent, I think, either 3 or 4 emails to the undersheriff. He's responded to the first one. And then before I left to come here to Texas, I told him that, hey, although I asked you to have a meeting, I can't do it for 2 weeks because I'm going to be gone. And when I get back, I'd sure like to sit down with you. So that's where we are right now.
And Deb Strongin, correct me if I'm wrong, the conversation in this area had developed to the extent that we were communicating with Captain Waymeyer. Isn't that the name?
Huffmeyer.
Captain Huffmeyer. But also one of the biggest holdups was that the sheriff's office was not able to provide us with updates to the SOP. So although we were told that there was a major revision that was ongoing, and then there are regular updates depending on changes in case law or whatever, we had no way, according to the sheriff's office, they were not going to include us in the emails that regularly go out to staff noting changes in SOP. And that was one of the items that I believe Jim Stewart was going to raise with Undersheriff Corrin, among other things. But that's been the biggest holdup, because why review, hundreds of pages of SOP and then find out that it's been changed. So we've been kind of stymied on that.
Okay, and let's see, is Undersheriff Corrin still on? Well, I know Mr. Lopez got a number to contact him. Will you share that with Mr. Stewart? And let's make sure that we find an appropriate way to undo that log jam and make some progress there. Our prior board member that recently resigned,
Diane Dosal.
Hadn't she made some progress there?
No, she wasn't able to, she was from APD, where that information would have been much more readily available, but it wasn't made available to us. And okay. I'm hoping that Mr. Stewart's outreach will be more productive than we've been able to be up to now.
Okay, So, Mr. Stewart, what do you think you need from this board to be effective?
Just
need
a
to
wee
vote
bit
on
of
something?
a wee bit of patience, Judge. I'll be back in Albuquerque next week. I gave Corns a heads up that I'm coming back, and I'll reach out to him again. So let me do that.
Okay.
And see if I can't get down there and see them. And if that doesn't work, then I'll come back to the board.
Very good. Anybody else on that subject?
Well,
Yes.
just, Jim, I did just text you that number that Under Sheriff Corrin left for contact, so phone
Yes.
number.
Yes, I got it in the chat here.
Good.
And by the way, I'm no longer recording, so I guess Bernalillo County is back recording.
Is that right, Danette? Are we recording?
Sir, it was always recording, even though I was not available to be seen. So what happens is once you start the webinar, I came down, but the webinar kept going. If the whole webinar would have went down, none of us would have been seen. We would all went down. So
Okay.
it was just me, and I'm sorry. I'm now back on, and I'm actually using my home internet now instead of the county's, because it was the one that was acting up.
Well, I tell you what, at my ripe old age, it's all, it's all gibberish to me. As long as we've got a record, I'm happy.
Judge, you're just a kid, for God's sakes.
Bless you. I do feel that I need to be judicious with your time. We're hitting on 12:30, and we're at item 9, announcement of the next board meeting, tentatively scheduled for July 8. And we have on here discussion of commencement of in-person meetings. I don't think that we can envision that July 8 is going to be in person. I think July 8 will be another Zoom meeting. Danette, is there anything to report with respect to when we might commence hybrid is what I'm looking for?
I did speak with one of the system analysts within Bernalillo County. We should be able to prompt in people from the outside via them being invited. Via phone might be a problem, but if they're invited, as long as they have Teams, they should be able to be coming in to the county room or conference room the way it's set up with Teams.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you, and I'm paraphrasing so that I make sure I understand, it may be possible in the future for us to meet in person and invite the public in, or invite other board members in by Teams.
Yes.
And that
they would
might
have to have the way Teams works is, similar to Zoom. I think the problems would be with the call-ins, but if they wouldn't sign in, which we have set up for anybody that wants to speak, to make sure that they sign in to the website to speak, the overall county website. With that being said, though, I'm thinking if we do open to the public, we'll probably have more people probably wanting to come in and do it. And if they don't, then we just have to make sure and emphasize that they actually do sign up on the county website so that they can get the webinar code. Otherwise, if they don't, it's harder to send out that webinar code while we're in the meeting.
let me project this then, that during the course of the summer, we're probably going to continue to meet through this medium. I guess it's Teams and not Zoom. I don't want to misspeak. But
I think we're on Zoom now.
We're on Zoom now.
Okay, all right. And so the earliest we might do in-person and hybrid Zoom or Teams is probably September. Is that accurate by your estimate, Danette?
Yeah, I think, we could start now. I don't know if we'd run into any technical difficulties, but after today, I guess we could run into technical difficulties at any time. Right?
We overcame one today, didn't we? Strongin?
I'm just wondering if people want to do sort of a trial meeting. I mean, we once had a purely social meeting, but because of the open meetings law, it needed to be on the record. We could do a very short informal meeting, and those who wanted to show up in person could, and we could just see if it works.
Yeah, I think that's wise to do a trial before we unleash it on the public. I guess we have to unleash it on the public, but we can tell the public that it's a trial. Correct there, Daniel?
Yes.
Okay. So next meeting, Zoom or Google Team or Microsoft, whatever it is, Danette, please arrange. Let's try to have some trial perhaps in August.
Okay.
And then be ready for a September meeting. Anything for next month's agenda? We talked about a couple of items during the course of this meeting. I don't know if anybody captured them, but we can kind of go through a list of what needs to be on the next agenda. Vice Chair Strongin, did you capture any of them?
I captured some. All right, there's a subcommittee with Diane Layden, Elena Giacci, and me with our two, with Jim Stewart and Joseph Lopez on the, is that on the annual report?
No, it's on
League of Women Voters.
voter.
Oh, right, on the whole, on the voters, okay.
The forum.
Right, okay.
What happened?
We've got the code of conduct with Wismer.
Right.
We do have annual report, though, Madam Vice Chair, that you're going to report on and include some information about our form, our candidates form. Debbie Dodge.
At one point, Debbie, you and I were on that committee together, and I'd still be happy to help you with that, with the annual report.
That's great. And I
that.
think Elena also wanted to be involved in that. And as I keep saying, I view the annual report as a completely collective effort. So when I send out drafts, I mean, you'll see already some of it has assignments to different people who have brought up specific issues to fill in the blanks. And there will undoubtedly be more of little assignments like that. So, but
Okay.
yeah, that'll be great.
We've got Jim Stewart on the SOPs.
SOPs.
We've got Dr. Layden reporting back after her conversation with the reporter. And what's the situation with the editing or redacting of reports? Do we need some more development, Mr. Stewart, on the, pardon me, Jim, on the formal orientation? I hate to just leave that dangling. Shall we?
No, maybe as I participate in more meetings and interact with the board, I'll be more comfortable. With your permission, I would like to reach out to the sheriff's office and see if they don't have a command brief that summarizes their organization and functions and all that, and get them to present it at one of our meetings. I'm not talking about a long excruciating death by PowerPoint, but 10 slides or so, how they're organized and what they do, I think would be beneficial to all of us. I mean, I know how a sheriff's office works. I'm not, and maybe all of y'all do too. Maybe this is not necessary, but it seems like it might be helpful.
Well, I've tried to take the view of the ordinary citizen and say, you know, I don't know that I want to know everything. I just want to know enough to know that it functions properly for the citizens of this county. Debbie Dodge, having the experience of the Citizens Academy, on occasion, I think has seen that it in some part may not be appropriate to truncate the training that she received, but may have some good observations about what might fit into an orientation for this group. So
Okay.
I would appreciate having that next meeting. And so if you could inform Mr. Stewart briefly about your experience, Debbie Dodge, I think that would be helpful to him.
Okay, yeah, we can do that offline, yeah.
Yeah, and Debbie, back in Texas, we did a 12-week Citizens Academy, probably similar to what you are undergoing.
Yeah, this was 13, yeah.
Yeah.
But I really got a lot out of it. I know it is a big time commitment, but I would encourage everyone to do it. It was enlightening, for sure.
And I know we had one member of the public who said she had a meeting and had to go. Again, members of the public, we're most appreciative to those of you who take the time to appear at these meetings and want to up the number of people who have interest in this area. And so, Floyd, we appreciate you getting the word out. Danette and Danielle, we really appreciate you all helping us. We appreciate your participation, fellow board members. And if there's nothing further, the chair will, Under Sheriff Cornyn is still on. And so he says, I provided Mr. Lopez with a link to the SOPs. And so I don't know that that's the entire conversation, but maybe that's a start there. But at any rate, unless there's something further, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there anything further? Okay. Is there need for a motion? Oh, Ms. Strongin, yes.
No, I was making the motion to adjourn.
Well taken. Any second?
I will second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. See you next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Judge.
Bye, everyone.